podcast is for informational and entertainment purposes only. The views expressed are those of the host and guests and do not constitute professional advice. We make no representations or warranties regarding the accuracy, completeness, or applicability of the content. Please consult qualified experts for specific guidance. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be considered legal, health, tax, or professional advice. Always consult a licensed professional for specific advice related to your situation. Hello there, and welcome to the Real Lyfe Topics Podcast. My name is Lakeisha Stevenson, and I am so glad that you are here. You can learn from what you don't like. As we grow in this life, there are so many things that we experience along our journey. You don't get to choose what family you're born to, what side of the street you grew up on. But I just choose to believe that God in his infinite wisdom, he just doesn't make mistakes about who we are and where we come from. Now, the truth is, as we grow and we move around, maybe we experience different things. Some things we can take detours in our life, right? And then some things you may just hit it head on, you may hit the target the first time. I choose to believe that even if you took some detours, if you will realize that this wasn't the best decision, and if you would realize you could have done things better, if you choose to be honest with the fact that this wasn't the best decision, I think you can still learn from it. I really do think you can still learn from it. You may not be happy about what you did, where you went, but you can learn from what you like and what you don't like. There are some people that came into your life, some while you were in obscurity. They were very patient with your process of you making errors or not getting it right the first time. And they were patient with you. They didn't discard you. They didn't kick you to the side. And then you sometimes grow and people see in a public place what you've been practicing for years. You didn't just get to the space that you're in now. You did some work in the background. And to some people, it may feel like you just emerged. No, you were working underground. You were moving underground, or you were moving on the backside of the desert. So when you come to a place where sometimes our circles change, sometimes people in our life aren't as forward in our lives. That doesn't have to be a bad thing. But make sure you give honor to those that endured with you through your process before you got to the place where you mastered some things. Remember the people that were with you when you were not so masterful. If you only can celebrate the people that are in your life now, when, you're at some of the pinnacle stages of success, can you really be trusted? All right. What about the people that were patient when you made that error, you made that mistake? They talked you through it. Sometimes you may not even like the way that it happened, but they talked you through it. They were still there for you. Their voice sometimes may change in your life. I do know that as you go and as you grow, there are certain voices that are very poignant at certain times in your life. I remember going through a very obscure moment. And I was very young and I lived in a place away from all of my family. I wasn't married, didn't have any children. Oh, it was so hard. Gosh, it was a hard space for me. And there were some people that were extremely instrumental in my life, in my sanity, that I may never get a chance to tell them that, but I know who they were. So one of the ways that I honor them is when they're doing certain things. And some of them were people that were on a national level. I support those things. I support those events. I remember when it was because of them, watching them on TV maybe, that helped me make it through some days. Then there were those that nobody may have publicly knew their name, But as I was navigating, learning certain things about myself, learning things about what God has called me to do in this life, there were those that would just pick up the phone and take the phone call. And, they're still in my life, just maybe not in the same exact way, but I still give honor and give credence to the fact that that was the voice that helped me navigate those times, right? And then you come to some scenarios in your life where you don't like how a person dealt with you. You don't like the way that they handled you. If you are honest about those things, I think you still can learn from them, because if you remember how it made you feel, you might not want to make anybody else feel like that. You may want to take into account how that scenario made you feel, how that experience made you feel. I've had a few of those, and I have tried to go deep enough inside of myself to say, I don't want to make anybody feel like that. I want to be able to communicate what I expect or don't expect, or whatever scenario that comes from, so that even if their voice in my life change or my voice in their life change, I don't leave them questioning, wondering. Sometimes you may not be able to do it, but I think it's important. I think we should take time, even when we don't care for a thing, to determine, what can I grab from that? Now, I know some people will say, what do you mean? I didn't like it. Why would I learn anything from it? You can learn what not to do, even if you didn't like something, right? Funny story. My baby boy was young and we were doing different life changes at home and changing diet and these things. And me and one of my coworkers, we were talking about these different foods. And so she was telling me about this kind of plant-based meal that she made. And I was so excited to come home and try it. I was so excited to come home and try it. And I did. And I will say I get credit in the kitchen, but my husband had no qualms with telling me, that is nasty. Do not do that again. We laugh about it now. Have I tried it again? Years later, I did. He was a lot more gracious because it didn't taste as bad. It just didn't form out as well. But we laughed about it, and I was like, well, I'm going to have to learn from this scenario, because this was not good. It just was not good. Now, it doesn't mean that I'm not a good cook. That recipe, I did not do well on it. It looked bad. It tastes bad. And to be honest, I will tell you what it was. It was a black bean burger. I did not do good with that recipe. It didn't stop me from eating black bean burgers. I just did not try and make them myself. I've come back and tried them again. It was a little better. Still wasn't great. Not a successful thing that I have mastered just yet. But I also did learn from the first time I tried it to the next time. And I guess I got a little bit more work to do in that area, because I have not mastered it. But let me just leave you with this, because, this is the Real Life Topic, the place where we come and we talk about real things, hopefully so that we can bring awareness and we can bring some resiliency and evolve in our lives. And I think sometimes we just don't go deep enough for a thing. Culture can teach us to be passive aggressive. We could not say what we really feel, or maybe we weren't taught to do that, or definitely cancel people so easily. But good, bad, ugly, indifferent, I think you can learn from what you don't like. Listen, I hope this topic has helped you some today to think about some areas that maybe you have experienced that were not cool. Maybe you don't like what was done to you, or you don't even like what you did to someone else. If we stop, take the time to go deep enough, we can learn from what we don't like. Listen, I'll talk to you on the next time.